Hi, Kathryn here with Handmade by Circle Art Designs. Today I am working on project 2 from the June Bargain Bead Box. This will be more and more dangle earrings. So let's turn our eyes to the mat and get started. So as we turn our eyes to the mat, the first thing I see here is this beautiful mat that my daughter gave me for the spring and summer. And the statement on it is simply grateful. So as I was thinking about simply grateful, I was reminded that we had a new Sunday school class this Sunday, and my husband was the teacher. It was on the 10 Commandments of Christ. And it was amazing. But as I was thinking about that, I was thankful at how grateful I am for my husband and for all the different people that he has put in my life. How about you? When you stop and think about it, who are the people that you are simply grateful for in your life? All right, let's get started. I've laid the mat down. I am looking for the center. You know, that is something I have to do every single time. You would think I would put a little mark on this mat, but my table kind of moves and where I can put my camera kind of moves. And so finding the center of the screen that I'm going to be recording on is always like a hide and seek game. Where is the center? Who finds the center? And sometimes I'm good at it, and sometimes I'm not. Here I've thought, that's not quite the center, but I think that is. And so we will get started. So when I do a batch of earrings, I have a tendency to put them in little baggies, put a little drawing of what I'm going to do, and then I just dump the baggies out as we go. For this first batch, I'm straightening out the head pins. I'm using the brass head pins from the Bargain Bead Box. I'm also going to use these lever back brass ear wires and these gorgeous brass bicones. Aren't those beautiful? And I said brass, but on both of those are bronze. Bronze head pins and the bronze bicones. They're a textured bicone and a bronze patina. And then I've also pulled out the bronze chain from the Bargain Bead Box. And then these gorgeous crescent. They call them pendants, but they're small enough that they can be earrings. I am going to use them in the earrings. Ornate crescent pendants and that bronze patina as well. And I've taken the chain that came in the box, and it is also a bronze, and I've counted out 10. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sorry, that'll be 12. I am counting out 6 and 6. You'll need a total of 12 links for each one. Now let me tell you, once I got this together, I decided that it was too long for me. Too long for me. I have a short neck. I have a tendency to make things that work for me. In case they don't sell, I can put them in my own collection. Because, you know, sometimes they sit for a while and I go, okay, these are mine now. Anyway, I only use 3 links for my own earrings. So it is totally up to you, either 6 on each side or 3 on each side. But go ahead and cut 4 of these. You'll need 2 for each of your earrings. And again, this is the chain that came in the Bargain Bead Box. do not have the Bargain Bead Box but might like to go on the sister store of Bead Box Bargain and look for this, they say that this is a textured oval steel jewelry train in a 4x3 millimeter, and I really love them. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these head pins and we're going to make them eye pins. I would have saved these beautiful long bronze eye pins if I had a bronze and a shorter pin that was an eye pin, or even a shorter pin that was a head pin, but I didn't. So what I did first was I went ahead and put the head pin portion in my looper, and then I only touched it as far as it needed to go because I want to save as much of this bronze as possible. I'll put it in a little baggie and I'll use it for other things. But then I closed the loopers together, made a question mark, and then I'm closing the loop. So you have a loop on one end. Next, I am pulling out some of my 3 millimeter bronze spacer balls. Now I'm going to add one. I like to put these on anytime I am making a component that has the little loop on the bottom because it just helps seal it, whether it's a memory wire bracelet, a necklace, or earrings. I always try to put something on the bottom to help seal it. I put on my bicone, another bronze. Now I've put that through the looper. Then I mashed the handles. It made that lovely little question mark. I'm taking my round nose pliers and closing it down. Then I'll take my chain nose and give it a little tap and make sure that it's closed on both sides and each loop is on the same plane. All right, so now by the magic of the video, I've gone ahead and done the other one because after all, this is a long video and you don't need to see me make both of them if you watch me make one of them. But once I've got that done, now I am going to go ahead and set it up to put my first earring together. With that, I'm going to use bronze oval jump rings. You can use the round as well, but since this chain is an oval chain, I thought I would go ahead and use oval jump rings as well. So I'm putting one side of the crescent pendant on, and then I am going to put on the 6th link first, and I'll show you what that looks like completed, and then I'll change it up. So I've got the 6th link on, the component on, and my crescent on and the chain on, and I've closed it. Now the secret to these jump rings, whether you're opening or closing them, is to hold it between 2 chain nose pliers or a chain and a curve and twist only one side. That way you don't stress the metal out. I've put on my component or my crescent and then my chain, and I'm closing it back up by twisting it back together on the same side that I opened it, and that gives just the least amount of stress to that jump ring. Now I've laid the component down, as you could see before my hand got in the way, and that could be a finished earring, and it's gorgeous. But I decided 2 different looks, and I'll show you one, and then I'll show you the one I went with. So the next thing I'm doing is I'm putting one side of the chain and one of the textured bicones in the bronze patina, and then I'm putting the other chain on. So it's chain, component we made, and chain. And then I'm closing up. I touch the jump ring to make sure it's closed, and we have this look, which is gorgeous. When I measured this runs 3 inches from the end of the lever back to the end of the crescent. And that just seemed too long for me. So what I did was I went ahead and cut 3 down from the component, leaving 3 on the crescent. And I'm going to use 3 instead of the 6. So that's the first change I made to put in my store. And if you look, that's a much shorter chain. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up my component right there. And I'm going to do the exact same thing I did the first time. I'm going to put on the chain, and it's a little trickier whenever you're only using 3 instead of 6. So you'll see me struggle with this just a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the chain onto my open jump ring, and then I am going to put on the component, and then I'm going to put on the chain from the other side. And it's very important that you don't get them out of sequence. If you've watched any of the things that I do, I tell you sequence is important, and consistency in the sequence is a habit to build on. Well, this pair of earrings is why you want to have the habit of consistency in your sequence. Because if you get the two chains together and then the component, it will not hang properly. The component will hang like a pendulum that swung off to one side. So it's very important: chain, component, and chain. And I'm fixing to give up on this in just a minute. Stop the camera if it doesn't go on, and then try again. So I've got it on. I'm closing the jump ring just like that. And let me lay it down and show you this look. Now this is the look at first I thought I would go with, but it's not the one. And you would have the lever back. I went, I'm not sure if I like that, but I'm going to go ahead and open up the jump ring again with the twist of one wrist, get the lever back on, see how it hangs, just like that. And again, this is another look. It's very similar to the first one, only on 6 on both sides. We went with 3. But what I ended up doing is not joining one side of the component so that it hangs chain, component, chain, and the lever back is on the same jump ring. So I took one of the jump rings out. I made the component a swing in the middle, and isn't that beautiful? I just love these earrings. Let me slip them on. That's why I like this lace so much, because it just gives you a place to hang these. So as you can see, chain. So when you put these together, you'll do chain, component, chain, lever back, or whatever ear wire you're using. Chain, component, chain, ear wire, and it all goes on the same jump ring. Doesn't matter if you're using ovals or you're using the round. All right, now let's move on to the next pair of earrings. So as we're emptying the next piece, would you please like and leave a comment for this video? And if you haven't subscribed already, would you please subscribe? Thank you so much. Okay, the first thing again from the Bargain Bead Box is the 10mm bead caps in this Bronze Patina. Aren't those beautiful? They are just lovely. Also from the Bargain Bead Box, and they have this pretty little shell on them if you haven't noticed. And these are the 8mm Maifanite beads. Aren't those gorgeous? And I have pulled out 2 head pins in the copper, but I'm not sure which one I'm going to use. And again, we're using that ornate bronze chain from the Bargain Bead Box. So we're using quite a few things from the June Bargain Bead Box for this pair of earrings as well. Now then, I am trying to decide the length on this, and I go with 10. Now that doesn't seem like a lot of length in the dangle for these earrings, but we will also be adding some beautiful Potomac beads. They're just up at the top. I don't know why I haven't picked them up yet, but they're from the Potomac Beads, and it's turquoise, amethyst, and sunflower swirl in a 4mm. And they go really, really well with this Maifanite bead. And so I was really glad to have them in my stash because I wanted something weighty to hold the dangles down, but I did not want something that was going to put a lot of weight on the earring. So again, I am counting out my links and cutting the next link over. And this is a pair of old wire cutters that I don't use for wonderful work because these steel chains will really eat your wire cutters, and I haven't found anything that works on it as well though. So I've cut 3 10-link chains for each earring, putting them over in a pile. And now let's see, where are we going to go from here? Let's see, what do I want to do? Okay, so I am looking at the eye pin in copper, and I think I'm going to go ahead and use this. I'm putting on a bronze 3mm spacer ball, then that beautiful bead cap, and then the Maifanite. It fits right up in there. You don't want to use, I wouldn't use anything smaller than the 8mm because you want it to look like a little cap on somebody's head. Isn't that gorgeous? And then another 3mm spacer ball. Now then, I put it across my chain nose pliers and butt it right up against the spacer ball, so I use all the extra space, close it, and then push it back slightly so that it makes a question mark. Once I have done that, I'm going to take my straight nose pliers and I'm going to go ahead and close this loop up. Now this is a larger loop using those yellow. That's a 2.25, I believe. And my blue ones, I believe, are a 1.25, but I'm using the larger of the two that I have. They come in all sizes. Now this one I wasn't careful with, and I did not get it in the same plane. If that happens, just gently twist until you get it in the same plane. That way the bottom of your earring and the top of your earring will be moving together as opposed to opposite directions. All right, once I've done that, I will go ahead and do the other. I'm still straightening a little bit. Now, the thing with both the bronze that came in the Bargain Bead Box head pins and these coppers are one size up, but those brass are very thin, so you want to be careful with them and where you're putting them on your piece, not to make too much of too much of a strain on it. And there are those beautiful Potomac beads. Again, that is turquoise, amethyst, and sunflower swirl. And they're just gorgeous. They are a glass bead, but they match just perfectly with the Maifanite, and I love it. So now I've gone back to my blue loopers and I started to do a loop here. Let's see, but I changed my mind. And again, that is because these head pins are very thin. So I'm taking a little over an inch. I'm using my thumb as a guide, and I cut it off, and I put that brass over on the side so I can use it for something else. And I hope I get my hands down. I touched the top to make sure nothing was sticking out, and I'm doing little turns until I get all the way to the bead. And this is a turn down loop, and I like to use it whenever I use thin I have to use the thin wire, because it just seems to me, unless you're going to wrap it, that it's much more secure. And so again, I hold it with my straight nose. I had felt it with the top of my finger, and I make little loops until I turn it all the way down to the bead. I'm going to need 3 of these for each of the earrings. And let me tell you, when you do this, you want to make sure that you have enough length on them that you get at least 2, preferably 3 completed loops when you turn it down. That way you have more security in making sure that it's going to hold, because even with using turned down loops, if you only do a 1.5 loop, it could pull open on you. So 2 complete loops, preferably 3. So this one I'm having to straighten up a little bit. It got ahead of itself. And that's what I'm doing here with my chain nose pliers. And then I am going to add these beautiful Potomac beads onto the bottom of the chain. Alrighty, so let's see here. I have got my bronze jump rings, and I opened one up with just a single twist of one side of the wrist. Then I'm putting on my chain first. Remember, decide what you're going to make your habit. And then my component, which are the charm beads for the end. And I'm going to put this on all 3 of them. Let's see if I can catch myself fast enough that I can show you how to do this. Okay, again, with the twist of one side, opened it up. I put the chain on. Oh, come on. Sometimes I have a lot of trouble sometimes with the first loop trying to eat itself. Then I'm putting on the beads, and I'm going to twist with one side of the wrist again. And it doesn't matter which side, whatever your dominant side is. I'm left-handed. You want to twist with, usually you twist with that. Sometimes my wrist gets tired and I end up twisting with the other one. But I'm going to put this on all 3, and then we're going to assemble one of these earrings and then get the other one done. So we're putting it on. There goes the chain and the bead, and we're going to twist it closed. And let's make sure, touch the top. Now, if you feel a rough spot, that is not closed. Go back and try again. So now I am opening up, or deciding whether I want to open up. And you know what? I've decided I'm going to use the larger of the 2 loops, the ones that I use with my large looper. And I'm going to put my dangles right onto the component that we made with the Maifanite bead and that beautiful bead cap. I'm going to do that just like that. And then I'm going to close it up. I don't do this very often, but since I made this, I know the flexibility of the wire. A lot of times with the ones you get where they have an eye pin already built in, and you try to open that up, it will break on you. I do not know why. It's just a lot of times they're more brittle. But I know the consistency of this wire, and so I'm going ahead, opening my loop, trying to get the dangles out so that I can see to close that loop back up. And there is the top component and the dangles. Now then, I'm going to take my jump ring and I'm going to open it up, because I do not want to open up. You can, but I don't want to open up the circle on the lever backs. I just don't want to take a chance of breaking it. My package had a broken earring in it, and so I'm already working at a deficit. Now, isn't that pretty? I love it. It has a very, very classy look to it. And here's the finished product. Both sides finished. Now, doesn't the Potomac beads match well with that? It's like I bought them to go together. And when in reality, I've used those Potomac beads now for a couple of years in different pieces, because I got a sale on them, and they just were very generous with the beads, and I love them. If you haven't looked at the Potomac website, you should look at it because it is a great site. Isn't that pretty? Oh, I've got it twisted up. Okay, Kathryn, give it a shake. Make sure you've untwisted it and then put it back down. Okay, now we're just about ready to go on to the next one. I just love these. They have a very classic look to them, and they're not, I mean, the style I have seen in other shops, but this color combination I have not seen, and I really love it. All right, on to the next. So let's dump this out and see what we have. Now with this one, I will be using some of those bicones that we used in the first one, and I have also pulled, well, I'll tell you these. The bicones first that we used in the first one, and then these beautiful shell double-sided charms. We are in the Bronze Patina, and as I said, they're a 24 millimeter and they're double-sided. Now I have actually pulled some copper that I had from a previous bargain bead box, and that's what I'll use with this. I'm taking one of the head pins from the bargain bead box, and I am beginning to mold it into a half a circle. This will actually end up looking like an extended U. You're going to need 2 of those. So because I don't have any fancy tools, I'm starting off with a little UV resin flashlight that I have, and I'm beginning the process. And then I'm going to pull out one of my nail polish tops, and I'll use that in a minute. I cut off the head pin on both of I'll cut it off on both of these because we're going to need a loop on both sides. And then I have also taken out some scraps of my brown jewelry tubing from a previous project last week. And I have beginning to shape them. I want them to look the same. And so you will see me fiddle with this back and forth a little bit each time. Now, as you know, I said this was kind of a thin wire. But I want to tell you, trying to get this thing to hold a curve, at one point I thought, I'm going to have to get out some other wire. But eventually messing with it, it got to where I wanted it to be. Now this is brown jewelry tubing. You have seen me use it on other projects. I'm cutting a piece off so that I have 2 pieces. I want it about the length of my other scrap. Like I said, never throw your jewelry tubing away because, well, really don't throw anything away that might be big enough to use because, you know, use it till it's used up, make do. So I'm taking my round nose pliers and I'm turning, and I got a little crazy with it, and I pulled the circle out. But hey, goes back, and I turn that down till it touched. Then I put on my beading tube till I had just a little bit left. So I've put on a bronze spacer and then the jewelry tubing, just like that. But I forgot the spacer on that one. Putting on the spacer, I'm sliding on that jewelry tubing, and then I'm going to eyeball it and make sure they're about the same size. Now I want you, see, it is, but I have to tell you that this thing can be very deceptive. I don't know exactly why, because, you know, math was not my stronghold, but I'm going to take this off. I'm going to make sure these are the same size, and then put them back on and make sure this is the same. This is an important step, and you'll see me fiddle with it. And the reason it's an important step is because when you put this on, you're going to be able to tell that one side is bigger than or littler than the other. And so I am really making sure that at least the part that is covered in the jewelry tubing, which is the part I know is exactly the same, looks exactly the same. I can adjust the amount of wire I have to make the loop, but I need the bend to be the same. So now then, to make my component for this, I've taken one of the bronze wires that we got, and this time I am going to do a wrap loop. I turn this right at the bead, just like that, so it's flat. I bring it over the top like that. Then once I do that, I flip my straight nose up so that that's on the bottom, and I'm just messy wrapping it 4 times. Again, the component is a bronze spacer, the bronze bicone, a bronze spacer, and then we're doing a messy wrap. And that's what it looks like. So let's do that again. So we're going to take your spacer ball, your bicone, the bronze bicone. Then we're going to take another spacer ball. We're going to take our straight nose pliers. We're going to hold them right up against the base of that bead. We're going to flip that over just like that, away from you. Then we're going to bring it around the top. Flip the wrist so it's at the bottom of the pliers. Then you're going, once I get a hold of it, you're going to just wrap it around the pliers 4 times and make a messy wrap. If you want to not make a messy wrap, that's fine, but all of mine end up being messy wraps. Once you get it, you're going to go ahead and cut it right up against that messy wrap right there. Let's see, I'm still playing with it. And once you do that, feel it. If you have anything sticking out, use your chain nose pliers and tuck that into the messy wrap so that it doesn't catch on anything. And so there you have, you're going to need 2 for each component. Now then, I'm also going to take one of the brass oval jump rings, and I'm going to open that up just like that. Oop, I dropped it. Remember the twist of one wrist. And I'm going to put on my shell charm. So now we're going to put this together. On the jewelry tubing goes a bicone, and then the shell, and then a bicone. Just like that. Isn't that pretty? And now it's time for us to turn. I'm turning my loops to the inside, just like I would a memory wire loop. I'm just turning it in with a slight turn. Oh, I forgot to put my bead on. I had to straighten it back out. Okay, now that my spacer is on there, I can go ahead and turn my loop. Make sure the loop touches the wire and that it's truly closed. And remember, if there's any doubt, you can use your chain nose pliers or your round nose like this one and just tuck it in and make sure that that loop is in the same plane as the loop that you finished on the other end. And that's what I'm doing right here. Once I get this laid down, I'm messing with the bottom to see what type of curve I want. And as I said, you will see me playing with this several times, trying to make sure it's in the same. But once you decide on the curve that you want, you'll be ready to go ahead and put the chain on. So I looked at it, I stepped away and came back and looked at it, and I wanted it to be just a little closer. Once you get this the way you want it, that wire and the chain itself should help. I'm sorry, not the wire. The jewelry tubing and the chain itself should help keep the shape on that earring. Now, here I am, I'm laying it out to decide how big I want this. And I ended up doing 12 of the loops, or 12 of the links. So I cut a number 13. And yes, that does mean that when I put my ear wire, it's either going to go in 6 on one side or 6 on the other side. But it's okay because I checked it in it before when I finished it, and it hangs evenly, and it's really beautiful. So I put out my oval bronze jump rings, taking my chain nose and curved nose, twisting one wrist, putting on the chain first, Then I'm going to go ahead and put on one side of the earring. I'm going to close it up just like that, twisting one wrist, making sure that it's closed. Then I'm going to open the next one, twist one wrist, put on my chain. Then I'm going to put on the other side of the component that we've made, just like that. Let's see there. There you go. Isn't that pretty? This is going to be lovely. And so now I'm going to lay it down and I'm going to look at it so that I know about where I want my ear wire to go. Taking the oval jump ring, and I'm looking to see which one I like. Okay. So I'm going to open it up with a twist of the wrist. I'm going to hold on to the one I want. I'm going to put it onto the jump ring. Come on, there you go. I know you can do it. And then I'm going to go ahead and put on my lever back. Now, because all of these are double-sided, it doesn't matter as long as you like the side that's showing. Then I'm going to close it up with that beautiful clamshell fan on the top of those lever backs. And that is the first earring, and I'll go ahead and do the other offline. And there they are. Aren't those pretty? Now it's very important that you fiddle with your earrings until you get it set the way you want it. If you want it more of a U, less of a U, a V, this is the time to decide. But this is the finished product of these earrings. And here they are on our little heart. Aren't those pretty? I just love them. You know, I have enough to make a second pair. So I'm going to make a second pair that are clipped because I wear clipped earrings. But I think they look so summery. Here are pictures for the things that we did in this video. Thank you so much for joining me today as we make more and more earrings. I love these colors. I think they're I think they're perfect for any time, especially in the summer, because they remind me of blue seas and they're just gorgeous. I hope you have an amazing beading adventure of your own today and a wonderful rest of your week. God bless. Kathryn, circleartdesigns.net. Oh, and these will be up in the shop. God bless y'all.